you won't have more time for 18 years. Guys, doesn't that suck? I know, that's the whole fun of this episode, talking about the realities of having a child and what that actually means impacting your life, impacting your time allocation. How are you able to spend your days and what is going to change for you? So I wanted to put this episode together mainly because it's a realization that nobody tells you when you're pregnant and you're all excited and I can't wait to be a mother and this is so fun. You don't realize the time demands that come with that. You don't realize how time will morph and change for you in your life and how that looks. So this episode's looking into that. There's a few studies that are fun I will share with you right away here. But I just wanted to start it off with the realities that, yes, that does suck. However, there is less filler time. So in fact, I feel like you level out for the better. You're not wasting time lounging around. You're not saying yes to things that you would like to say no to. You're leveled out in a better way because the filler time is gone because it has to be gone because you have no choice. Okay, so getting right into the research, there was a study from 2014. The data was taken from 2003 to 2012, and the study was published in 2014. This study was by PEW Research, and they looked at the typical hours in a day for a mother throughout a week. So what they came to is a weekly compilation of a new mother. It looks like 23 hours of housework, 18 hours taking care of children, directly taking care of them, hands-on, changing diapers, feeding them, holding them, all of that stuff, and 31 hours of leisure time. And this is also equating for 63 hours of sleep. So 31 hours of leisure time. And haha, that's funny. Isn't the episode title, You Won't Have More Time for 18 Years? Well, yes and no. So you won't have the same amount of free time. But like I just said from this study that came out in 2014, you have 31 hours a week of leisure time. And no, ma'am, that is not when you're sleeping. That is daylight. That is time that you can use productively for yourself and for all of those around you. Now, I did want to make a comment, though, on this study. From what I read and how they took the information, they said 18 hours taking care of children directly. Cool. And this left 31 hours of leisure time. Cool. However, you are indirectly also taking care of children many, many, many more hours. And they said that those weren't directly accounted for. However, it was hard to contextualize in how many hours that actually was. So when I read that, I thought, that's a little bit off. I think you spent more than 18 hours. However, they did account for that. If you're wondering, that doesn't add up. Didn't for me either. Now, to continue on from this PEW research, they said that the time demands with children under 5 are 2 times as much than children that are over 5. So that is 2 times as much time you are putting in, double the time demands for a child that is under 5. And after 5, they said they get into this change. There's a change that happens. Over 5, it becomes, yes, more housework, yes, more activities and the things that they're into. However, it lightens up in the sense of direct care of, prying open a mouth so you can brush teeth and bathing them and scrubbing them up and doing hair and dressing them. It drastically changes at 5. So hang in there wherever you are. And if you're over 5, good for you. You've made it. So it lightens up, but it also doesn't. I mean, again, the title of this episode, 18 years, because the time demands change. And I'll get into that and how they change in a different way. And its time demands change on different levels. Anyways, I will get into that. Okay, and jumping right into another study. A study from the UMA group, St. Louis, did a study of 10,000 highly skilled economists, female women economists. Interesting study, right? That's weird to me. I was like, okay, have to read this one. What's up here? And their study came to a resounding conclusion that mothers in this study felt more productive after having kids with less time. So they felt more productive with less time after becoming a mother. This study was over 30 years of a career. It said that mothers outperformed women without children at almost every stage. Almost every stage, guys. So, and this was, to put it in context, it's 2 or more children that these women had in the study. So there is apparently a way to manage it all, and there is a way to become more efficient with the less time that you have. Now, I wanted to just talk personally a little bit about realizing that you don't have more time. And I also wanted to make a personal mention here on the podcast because I find most mothers that you talk to are really strung out, and that's normal. Like, we're all kind of in the same boat. However, most of the podcasts out there are so negative, and they talk about all of the terrible and the blah that's happening with motherhood. And there is a lot of beauty to it, and there is a lot of fun when you change your perspective. So that is what I'm trying to do with the show, of showing the facts, showing the realities, and sharing some of my personal story to hope that that helps you in your journey wherever you are in the world in motherhood. So yes, the stages of children continually have new and exciting changes. And I don't think that you should race through that because it's gone in a blink. And, looking back, you can see moms that are now grandmas, they get antsy, they get bored. They think, I can't wait to go and help and spend time, that I now have this free time. I can't wait to go and help with the kids. So it's something that gets built into you, that you become more efficient with this time. And all the way into the future, when you eventually become a grandmother, you're going to just find you are so ultra efficient that you can do so much more with the little time that you do have. And when you have more time, you'll be like, wow, look what I can accomplish. Look what I can do in a day. And I think that's freaking awesome. Now, a couple of pointers from my own perspectives. I feel like you get to say no to more things, to more people, and to more commitments. And it feels awesome. There are positives in that because all your excuses of why you can't make an event are probably real now. But to be real, you get to say no to a lot of things that would generally take time away from things that are really important to you, or things that would just kind of waste your time. So you get to say no, and that is such a power. You also, you get to erase all of this excess because you literally don't have the time for the excess, for the junk, for the drama. You don't have time for it. You can't squeeze it in, and good, you don't need it. Now, you still get mostly all of it done. I mean, you won't have the time that you had to clean your house and make it spotless. It goes faster. I mean, between diapers and appointments and walking and baby proofing and feeding them and sports and activities and school. And I'm talking from my own personal experience with a 4, a 2.5-year-old, and a 1-year-old. I mean, we get mostly all of it done. The kitchen looks somewhat good at the end of the night. The kids are happy and healthy and fed. Where we get most of it done. Does the house look beautiful all the time? No, absolutely not. But that's not the biggest priority. With the time that we have, we're doing the other things with them. And I wanted to add in there, you go through all of this with your kids and you're so tight with them and you help them with everything. And then they get to that stage of, and I've seen it with many friends and cousins and family, that their kids get into early teen stages and then full-blown teen stages, and they literally think that they don't need you anymore. You are not cool, and they're cool, and they know everything. And you see that there's this little bit of time that you get, and then they come back, and they come back in a different way. So they come back in needing you for advice. They come back in needing you for talking through the experiences of high school and university, and navigating relationships and navigating the workforce and their world around them. So your time demands go from literally waping bums and scooping pablum off the floor to talking to them like adults. And those conversations, those deep conversations and those connections, they take time, and your time demands will change. And that's why I named this, you won't have more time for 18 years, because that time will morph and develop and change so much. And you just have to be aware of all of that that's coming and make a balance for that. And it's something that I'm super proud of, how we're balancing it with the kids. And I'm looking forward to the future of how those time demands change. I mean, I'm super looking forward to not scooping pablum off the floor anymore. Oh, yes. So I made a note that it goes from being very physical. I find your time demands go from being very physical, like I said, waping bottoms, changing, lifting, carrying, car seats, all that stuff. Then it gets very emotionally heavy. And then it gets very energy heavy, I feel. And this is me talking out of my realm, but talking from experience, from what I have observed. So I feel like I'm in the physical time demands right now. I'm not in the emotionally heavy time demands. I have 3 daughters. Help me. That's coming when they hit teens, and all the emotional that is just going to be sticking to all the walls. So then it becomes very energy heavy, I think, because it takes a lot of time and energy to think of others, to care for others, to maintain healthy relationships. And I feel like once your kids grow up and they move out, it takes time to pick up the phone and call them, to write them letters, to make time to have a trip to go and see them, and then to talk to them on the phone when they're navigating breakups and hardships and all of the things that come in life. So I feel like you get into that energy demand, and I think that's the last stage. I don't know. I'm totally talking out of my own experience here. Like I said, observed, but that's what I feel happens. So you get physical and emotional energy time restraints when they're going up to 18, and then after that it turns into this kind of energy time demand, if that makes sense. Okay, so getting into my last study of today. The last study is from BBC. It's from 2022, and they studied how many mums feel that they have less time for themselves, and how much less, like what is the impact? Well, so they called it maternal ambivalence in this study. And ambivalence, if you don't know what the word means, it's basically contradictory thoughts and feelings about something or someone. So, I love this person, but I feel sad, like that kind of stuff. Contradictory thoughts and feelings. So basically, what it was saying is that mums feel like they have less time because they're doing these homemade meals, they're doing nap schedules, and the house is on point and it's clean. But this leads to not recognizing yourself. So you are happy and that you are having all of these things in order, but you're having this maternal ambivalence, and that you're feeling like you don't recognize who you are as a person anymore because you're not putting in the time for yourself that you used to, or spending the time with yourself that you used to be a good mother, and to also shower or go shopping, get a facial, get your hair done, go to yoga, meditate, take a HIIT class. They feel like what the women were saying is that they feel, in quotes, am I missing a part? Like, if I'm a robot, am I missing a part? And 90% of women said that they felt the same way as that quote. Put up their hand and said, yeah, am I missing a part because of this maternal ambivalence? And this all comes from having less time for yourself and spending less time with yourself. So I'll end it with that of just, you do have to spend time with yourself and of course with your loved ones and everything through these time demands. And the good news is, hey, you have 31 hours of leisure time. So spend that wisely, my woman. Okay. And now to end it off, I always say I'm ending it off and then I talk. Now I'm ending it off. All of these stages of life take time, and all of these stages of life that you get to go through with your kids up until they get 18 and beyond, and until they grow into young adults, and then young women and men and old people, if you're still around for that time, cherish it. It is literally the zest of life. It is the reason that we are here, to spend that time, to enjoy those moments, to be ready to give what we can. If I can just remind you to take some time for yourself, first and foremost, you have more in your cup to give to everybody else. If you do that, please do. So, wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining me. Really love doing this podcast. I would ask that if you are listening to the show, please jump on whatever service you're on. If it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, jump on and give me a rating. It means the world to me, and it helps me, and it helps the show. Leave me some comments. I do read them. I hope you guys have an awesome day ahead. And if I was there, I'd give you a big hug and say, you're doing awesome. You're mothering. And that is literally the hardest job in the world. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.